why are some of the addresses wrong along West Broadway? Above the door it says 422, but this cast iron calls it 130. This irrational number is prime evidence of a miscalculated advertisement campaign. So in the early 1800s, before this street was renamed West Broadway, technically it was called Lawrence Street, but many sources called this Rotten Row. They described a seedy, dangerous red light district. But new research, which includes looking into the archives of Black-owned magazines and newspapers, paint a slightly different picture. While inarguably less affluent than many surrounding neighborhoods, there was an established Black and Irish community here of around 700 people that included businesses, churches, plus colored school number 2, which in 1870 the New York Times described as flourishing. I wish I could tell you more about the neighborhood, but the research I have found thus far has been limited. Now, that same year, 1870, Lawrence Street was to be widened. So a lot of the old buildings knocked down, residents forced further north, and the street was to be renamed. Why renamed? It is very likely that Boss Tweed, one of New York's notoriously corrupt politicians, had business interests along this street and would personally benefit from a good rebranding. Now, they could have named this West Broadway right then and there as an appeal to that middle-class consumer base that frequented regular Broadway just 4 blocks east. But Boss Tweed had more expensive taste. As an homage to what was becoming the wealthiest address in New York City, they dubbed this street South 5th Avenue, which sounds very fancy. But regular 5th Avenue starts north of here, right? North of Washington Square Park. And like almost every other north-south street in New York City, the addresses start with number 1 at the southernmost part. And as you walk uptown, the numbers go up. Okay, when they numbered South 5th Avenue, they decided to count in the opposite direction. So number 1 started at the north side of the park. And as you walk downtown, the numbers went up, which was very confusing to visitors because the numbers didn't add up. Inverting the numbers, renaming the street, and multiplying the diameter didn't actually equal a nicer street. Instead, it made way for an elevated railroad to move in. That railroad was loud. It was dirty. They had not factored that into the equation. It cast a shadow over what was so exponentially unlike its uptown namesake. A lot of folks continued to refer to this area as Rotten Row well into the 1890s. By that point, well, I would say by that point, Boss Tweed was disgraced and in jail, but that would be a tangent. He escaped jail, he fled the country, and was later recaptured working on a Spanish ship. And that's a cotangent. By the 1890s, to sum it up, businesses here saw their odd number scheme as a negative. They successfully petitioned the city to even out their addresses and renamed this street to its current moniker, West Broadway. This cast iron was put on during the South 5th Avenue era, and a fraction of the businesses here chose to never take away their old digits, even when they were outnumbered. Now, in the 1970s, this area became historically protected as the Cast Iron Historic District, meaning that even as Lawrence Street, South 5th Avenue, West Broadway here continues to change, these numbers will remain constant. It's a sign and a cosign you can count on.